You and I have a rendezvous with destiny. We'll preserve for our children this, the last best hope of man on earth, or we'll sentence them to take the last step into 1,000 years of darkness.
You take on the intelligence community, they have 6 ways from Sunday at getting back at you.
We're living in a very dangerous time right now, and liberalism has lost their cotton-picking mind.
The Trump folks, if they found out how we knew what we knew about the Trump staff dealing with Russians, that they would try to compromise those sources and methods.
Nobody ever said anything about resisting Obama. They went at him on legitimate arguments.
I really do believe that much of what you saw coming out of Trump's mouth was a play from Putin's playbook.
Welcome to the Abolitionists Roundtable, your all-access pass to exposing fake news, the resistance, and the global elite's shadow government undermining American progress. Be a part of the conversation at 734-822-1600. And now, your all-American hosts, Del Marsh and Phil Stargell.
All right, great. Thank you for joining the Abolitionist Roundtable. Your all-American hosts is here, Del Marsh and Phil Stargell. We're ready to bring some optimism to what's going on here in America right now today. We know, okay, so it might be a temporary shutdown, but that's all right. We're not going to let Democrats create and control the narrative. Folks, we got a lot of work to do. It's up to us here, and it's up to you to create this, an environment of optimism, so that we can continue on this road of progress that we have. Democrats don't have anything at all, and the reason why they don't have anything at all because they've created their voting bloc is an underclass, and they want to keep this underclass, a permanent underclass of voters. And so I want to say again, thank you for joining the Abolitionist Roundtable. This is 2018. Phil and I, we want to again celebrate that here on WAAM Talk 1600. We've been here and we're celebrating our 8th year on WAAM Talk 1600.
Yeah.
8 years on radio.
Yeah.
8 years, a couple of amateurs that came in here. And and so for 8 years you've supported us, and we've improved ourselves over time, and made this a great show and bring a lot of good information. And we laugh, and sometimes we laugh at liberals. We laugh at the left. We laugh at the progressives. And the reason why we can laugh is because we see that somebody like Donald Trump, that traditionally might have been a little bit more moderate or liberal, and switched sides and stuck to some of the economic policies that he believed in, and look at what's going on right now, folks.
In just 1 year.
In just 1 year. And liberals and Democrats and leftists, they cannot give him any credit for this at all. But that's all right, because he's going to take his own credit for it. Second, Phil, before we jump into what we're going to talk about this morning, because we have a lot, folks. We're going to talk about poverty. We're going to talk about production, how production is up. Obama is trying to make a comeback, and we got some great sound bites. But on Monday, January 22nd, where it marks the 45th year of legalized abortion in America. In 1973, 7 Supreme Court justices invented a right to abortion through Roe versus Wade. And only 12% today, only 12% of Americans support abortion on demand through all 9 months of pregnancies. Yet, this still remains the law of our land because of a slim majority of 5 on the justice. Since 1973, there's been more than 58 million Americans that have died at the hands of the abortion industry. And these were our most precious, our most innocent, that never had a day in court, that the NAACP, instead of protecting them, they're more concerned about protecting, giving civil rights to
illegals,
climate change.
Climate change, yeah.
Instead of giving rights and protection to these
Oh, yeah.
58 million innocent Americans
Yeah.
that never had their day in court,
Right,
Phil.
right.
58 million, 45 years. And so we're going to mark this day, and we're going to remind Americans and remind ourselves that this 58 million would have paid into Social Security, paid into Medicaid, bought cars, houses.
But there's another intangible that you have to take into consideration.
Yes.
The replacement level of each one of those 58 million.
That's correct.
So at replacement levels, each one of them would have had to replace a mother and a father, and that now we're talking about doubling, at least doubling that number.
Or tripling.
Or
tripling, yes.
Yeah, that number. So what we see is through immigration, illegal immigration, that the black community, who contributed more of those abortions than anybody else per number,
it breaks my heart.
They are now the second largest minority group in America compared to the Hispanic and the Latino community, which is almost double what the black community is. I mean, we're 38 million.
And the reason it's only 38 million is because there's been a little bit of growth, and that's not because of the repopulating of in their African American community. It's not because that's because of we have a number of blacks that have come from other countries that's repopulating their communities.
Yes, and the thing about it is that the Latino and the Hispanic numbers were 12 million known when Ronald Reagan gave out amnesty. Today, there are a known 48 million. Now, we just heard that the DACA people were supposed to be 800,000.
Oh, boy.
Right?
Yeah.
Now we're hearing the number 3.5 million.
We are hearing 3.5 million. That's an unprecedented number right there.
That's a whole lot.
That's a whole lot.
And then
and because of chain migration, that number could even increase even more
to 8. They're saying possibly 8 to 10 million.
8 to 10 million.
8 to 11 million, actually.
Phil, do you know that Democrats see that as a underclass of voters right there?
Yeah.
8 to 10 million.
Oh yeah.
And especially in some of those states like Texas, that's purple.
Yeah.
There's red. They can turn those states purple right there and really have an influence on, real influence on a state like that.
And look, the hurricane, Maria, was it, that hit Puerto Rico?
Mm-hmm.
And so what happened is 250 million people left Puerto Rico, came into Florida. Now they're talking about influence in Florida's vote.
Well, not 250 million.
I mean, I'm sorry, 250,000. Yeah.
Thanks
for the correction.
Lord have mercy.
If
it was that many.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Yeah. Well, that's what the Democrats would allow if
they would allow.
Yeah, they would allow.
They would allow a whole country to come here if they could.
Well, Mexico, they cleaned it out.
And so what happened is, and so again, marking this 45th anniversary, we can see how we know, and you've been talking about for years, Phil, how the low replacement rate which they're not talking about, but we see that they're trying to replace this number right here of people that we lost with illegals, and that's what primarily we know that's what they're using them for.
And how did that get to be on the back burner of the conversation is beyond me, because look at Detroit, Baltimore, all of these cities that have high crime today, high poverty rates and all of that today. They have low numbers. Their numbers are way down from when they were at their peak levels. I mean, way down. And the school systems are trash. If the rumor is that's the reason why Detroit did not get that Amazon contract, because of the bad school.
They said that we don't have enough people that ready that are ready to take on a project like this. Well, they didn't see it. They would say that we didn't have enough people job ready or job ready with the skill level that they need to take on a project like that there. Yes, you do. If you're going to bring in an industry like that, which Amazon did, they have a warehouse here. It's in Livonia. I know somebody that
and they're building one out in on Ecorse Road in Inkster.
But something else you've been talking about, the STEMs, and these are jobs in that mathematics and engineering field. These are booming jobs. But here, let me go back for a minute, because I wanted to say that, Phil, instead of everything that's going on right now, I didn't watch the NAACP awards last week. I got to be honest, I didn't. I just hold my nose whenever I hear about it. But the NAACP say that now we celebrated and honored the holiday of the great Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, because he was a reverend first, and he spoke about morality first too. And spoke from that Christian perspective and everything that he did. But the NAACP said that Martin Luther King's vision cannot be achieved without fighting global warming. Okay, so, and I'm just going to read a little bit about, Phil, when I seen this, I could not believe this right here. Fighting global warming, and I'm thinking to myself, in these neighborhoods, in these ghettos that the NAACP still want to represent, why don't they tell the people to pick up paper in their own neighborhood? Yeah. Well, instead of, and stop trashing their own neighborhoods, pick up the paper, have pride in your neighborhood. But they saying that global warming is the Martin Luther King Day. The NAACP wanted man-made global warming to be to be seen as a civil rights issue, arguing King's vision of a society free of racial injustice can't be achieved without addressing warming. Okay, really? There's no global warming because in spring it warm, in summer it warm, in fall it started to cool, and in winter it cools. And so this nature. Nature has its own order that it has, and so there's no global warming. But this is the foolishness that they come up with. It says we see climate change as a civil rights issue, says Jacqueline Patterson, head of the NAACP's Environmental and Climate Change Justice Program. Oh my God, they have a climate change justice program. Yeah. She said this to an online radio spot at Yale Center of Environmental Connection, and it says environmentalists, activists have been increasingly framing global warming as a matter of as a environmental justice. I mean, you can't make this stuff up, Phil.
No.
Since minorities and low-income population are disproportionately affected by global warming. Are they really? Those ghettos those neighborhoods it's the people leaving those neighborhoods, and the neighborhoods are going down so that they can live a better life in suburbs, because people don't take pride in their own neighborhoods. But it goes on, it says that, and I'm just going to say this right here because I'm not going to read all of it, but it says the Obama administration used environmental justice concerns to promote clean power plan, which aim to cut carbon dioxide emission from existing power plants.
But how do they plan on doing that?
Or taxing them.
Taxing them.
By taxation.
Right. Exactly right.
And that taxation was going to be used for rebuilding the neighborhoods. Again, you got to get people to take pride in the neighborhood or the paper.
Civil rights implies one thing, that there's one side of the issue that's going to get favorable treatment. And that's what the whole idea of civil rights is. And it's anti-constitutional because our Constitution says everybody is created equal.
That's right.
But the civil rights end of the Constitution says that certain groups, certain people get special rights. So now what are we going to do? We're going to give global warming civil rights, special rights.
Special rights.
where now how do you address that?
Yeah.
So climate change is now a form of oppression?
Yeah.
It is.
Is that what they're saying?
Yes.
What other conclusion can you come to?
And so you know they talk about how this is hurting people in minority and low income areas. Now, it's okay.
So how do you remedy it?
Watch this right here. It says in 2004, Pacific Research Institute report found that clean power plan could result in an extra $408 a year in the energy costs for so-called African American families in Ohio. So they said that household of low-income African Americans, so-called African Americans, can find their electricity bills and their gas bills going up about 26%. Yeah. So the result is that, okay, so they want to tax the company, but they still passing on additional costs to poor people. And so it's making the condition of poor people even worse, because now they got to choose between food and paying their gas bill, paying their light bill, Phil.
Yeah.
And so this is absurd of the NAACP.
So what'll happen is,
yes,
now they will demand special treatment to offset the additional costs. So that means that the government is going to have to.
There you go. They subsidize. There it is, another subsidy.
So, yeah.
To pay for their, again, I got this is reported by the Daily Caller.
Well, you know, let's take it on the level of why people are like Donald Trump has been successful, because what he did was he went after the regulations that these people have been applying on a civil rights basis instead of a constitutional basis. They're going at it as the Energy Department, created by Jimmy Carter, a big government clown. You know, he ended up with an agency that's been in existence for 50 years almost, and it has never produced one barrel of oil.
Yes. Now you're saying now again.
Socialist control.
Yeah. Socialist control. Now, the liberals have their talking head, economists that's running around right now, and again, they talking about the climate change. They don't want to give President Trump a credit for the deregulation of policies, or just. It's not even policies. These were Obama with his pen and a phone just created this division right here. Didn't go through the process. But Derek, I want you to get number 2. This is what now. This is Krugman, Paul Krugman. This is an economist. This and the question was, this is on MSNBC. On Henry Blockget show called The Bottom Line, and he asked him a question. He asked him, he says, how much credit does President Trump deserve about the economy? Okay, so Derek, number 102.
How would you characterize economic performance right now? Is the economy good, and how much credit does President Trump deserve for how the economy is doing?
The economy's pretty good. In fact, I mean, it looks like we're close to full employment, although we don't know why wages aren't rising more. I think Trump gets essentially zero. Even under. First of all, there have been no actual policies, right? There hasn't really been any policy change, and the convention usually when people try to assess the economic impact of administrations is to assume that the first year reflects the policies of the previous administration. So, no, there's nothing that is Trumpian about what's going on.
There's nothing Trumpian. There's nothing Trumpian about the economy. He can't take it. He can't take credit. It's from the previous administration. So they still. It's a continuation of 2% because that's all Obama had. Yeah. The most he had was just.
Oops.
I gotta watch it. That's the driver, folks. Gary, and again, let me just say that Gary is here. You just heard him. He just moved the microphone and that little noise. So, and again, here, let me because I want to hear Phil's commentary on Krugman just now, but we want to say good morning to Gary. Gary wanted to make sure you knew he was here, folks. Good morning, Gary.
Good morning.
The official observer of the WAAM 1600.
Now, again, Phil, this is an economist. Yeah. And so they want to fight global warming, and we see that California, right now has the highest level of poverty than any other state in the union.
Yeah. And
Krugman said that we can't give Trump any credit, Trumpy for the Trumpians, and what else did Krugman said? It's from the last.
That's a continuation.
It's a continuation. So we already above 2%. So how is it a continuation?
Yeah, and they're actually talking about it might be as much as 4%.
Oh, that's
that
great
quarter.
news.
And I don't know exactly when it's supposed to come out, but
I can see. I can see it. I can really with this optimism that's going on right now, Phil, with the stock market and oil production and the surge of jobs. I can see 4%. Coming sometime this fall, going into 19. I really see that it's coming.
They said that when Reagan gave the tax cut in the 80s, that they actually had a quarter that was up close to 7%. And I fully expect that this. I'm fully expecting maybe even more than 7%. Because of the fact.
Oh my goodness! Really?
Yeah, because of the influx of that money that's going to come back in here, and so what'll happen is it'll have to they're going to invest that money back into this country, and that is what's going to do it. Maybe in the third year of Trump's administration, you're going to see it's going to be super hot. They're going to have to do some things to try to, to keep it from growing like it is.
Phil, it says that the oil, here, this is another one. U.S. oil industry set record break records, and so right now we're at about 10 million barrels a day. Phil, we within the can you believe from 1970 we're already crushing that threshold, and they're saying that they're forecasting that by 2019, as late as 2019, that we could be at 11 barrels.
11
producing 11 barrels, 11 million. I said 11 barrels, 11 million barrels a day by 2000. This is at a level that Russia is doing right now. We're going to surpass Russia. And so what the result is that the economic and the political impact of this soaring impact on the breaking breathtaking cuts to the national oil impact. We're going to see. It says that it's going to provide high-paying jobs in rural communities and lowering consumer prices for domestic oil by 37% by 2008.
And this is where
from
the Democrats will come in. You notice where Krugman said something about he doesn't know why the wages aren't.
The wages haven't went up.
Yeah. Okay. The reason why is that this is always that inflation level lurking back in the back. That's the real enemy of a market system such as we have is inflation, and so that's one of the reasons why the wages are going to be sort of held in check. They want to try to do that to fight off inflation, because that will hurt the economy more than anything.
Okay. All right. Well, we're going to let him finish that thought on that right there on the other side of the break. If you'd like to join the conversation, give us a call, 734-822-1600. We'll see you in a few minutes.
You're
listening to the Abolitionists Roundtable with your hosts, Del and Phil. They're exposing the left's underground resistance while leading the charge in the fight for liberty. Join the conversation at 734-822-1600.
Hello, I'm Milt, and this is Logically Speaking Uncensored. New Year resolutions for continuous post-swamp liberation victory celebrations. The United States is at the crossroad of survive or perish, with few margins for incorrect decisions. As the nation enter another post-year of being liberated by President Trump from 8 years of President Ali Obama and the Democrat Party collectivist swamp, we who suffered during those years must resolve to never allow the enemies within or without to gain control of our national destiny again. Therefore, I hope those who agree with me will adopt some of the following resolutions as we fight to maintain and celebrate our newly won victories. 1. Resolve to deny anti-God haters the power to destroy our beliefs and moral values. 2. Resolve to oppose abortions and political correctness no matter the form or fashion. 3. Resolve to support constitutional laws, especially the First and Second Amendments, knowing that a speechless and disarmed people become defenseless, subjugated people. 4. Resolve to defend United States sovereignty and bravely fight to protect the land of the free from all enemies, foreign or domestic. 5. Resolve to keep the United States the #1 superpower in the world and make it greater. 6. Resolve to take back the English language by stop using hyphens before America or American. Example, African American, Muslim American, Hispanic American, etc. Because the hyphen is a socialistic scheme to resegregate America and destroy its unity. 7. Resolve to oppose all death to American invaders and illegal immigrants, and every treasonous Democrats and Benedict Arnold Republicans. 8. Resolve to stop calling Islam a religion of peace, hijacked by extremists, jihadists, or radicals. The truth is, Muslims who commit atrocities in the name of Allah are devout. 9. Resolve to support January as National Departure Month by encouraging disgruntled American haters to prove their hatred with their departure. The sooner, the better. 10. Resolve to support June as National Heterosexual Recognition and Appreciation Month by honoring the sanctity of procreation ordained by the exclusive heterosexual compatibility process of male and females relative to family and continuation of humanity. 11. Resolve to support the president's fight to save the nation from the swamp. And number 12, resolve to stay true to your resolutions. I am Milt, Logically Speaking Uncensored, saying, think about it.
All right, great. Thanks, Milt. Man, wow. That's another awesome commentary by Milt Harris. Here, folks, if you'd like to join the conversation, give us a call, 734-822-1600. I want to go back because I did miss something. We did talk about how the NAACP believe that global warming is the new civil right. They said that Martin Luther King, Dr. Martin Luther King's vision cannot be achieved without that. And I missed over something because this is from pjmedia.com, and it says, what's the matter with California? Okay, so we know, folks, that California is one of the richest states in the union, and it says, but it goes on. It says, guess which state has the highest poverty rate in the country? It's not Mississippi, not New Mexico, not West Virginia, but California has 1 in 5 residents are poor, according to the Census Bureau. Supply poverty measure, okay? And it says that, but so again, big government has created this atmosphere where people are poorer than ever, and we see it's a lot of people that's on the street in California. Now, Phil was just talking about, Dale, the reason why California still can sustain itself financially is because we have a lot of people with a lot of wealth in that state, and so it offset the number in, they contribute, they don't mind paying that extra in taxes, and they contribute a lot to poverty programs. But what if those people start leaving that state right there? California would be they would really be in a financial pickle, a real financial bind. And so we're going to hear Phil's commentary on that right there, folks.
Yeah, what's happening is you can probably compare California to Venezuela. Here they have the highest oil reserves in the world.
Yes.
And they have poverty, and they have, descent. Because those people are actually starving because they don't have anything on the grocery store.
Yes.
And I've seen some pictures where people were waiting in line for rations to ration out the food.
That's
and they were waiting
Yeah.
in line starting at 10 o'clock at night. They're sitting there waiting on these people to open up the doors. And while they were waiting, guess what? The favorites of the state
That's right.
came in buses and took all of the food and left all of those people there.
They got theirs first, and everybody else is left to fend for themselves. And so this is what happened when you don't use that free market economic system.
That's right.
The result is that people have to fend for this, and that's what's happening in California. Not just that. Now, here we get all this poverty going on in California, 1 in 5. But so that's not even bad enough. It says this is from well, I get it just a bit. The San Francisco Union Tribune, and it says about a dozen people were arrested for feeding homeless in El Casual Park. And El Casual Park. So what happened is that the city council, they passed an emergency ordinance saying that you can't pass out food on city-owned property. Officials said that the ordinance was to protect the public from hepatitis A, of course, but the activists there, they're saying that this is a way that California is trying to dehumanize and criminalize the homeless. They trying to criminalize the homeless. So now in California, here they have this unprecedented number of people. They create laws now saying you can't help people or feed the homeless, give them blankets and food and other stuff and toiletry. This is what the organization said that this organization said that they went out and they passed out food and toiletry to the homeless, and the police came in and arrested them. And so California, on one hand, they got this poverty. Okay, so now they blame it on hepatitis, but it's not just food that they're giving them. They're giving them toiletries. They're giving them, and they probably giving them. Of course, we know this is a liberal state. They probably sitting there giving them marijuana, probably too, and
clean needles,
and clean needles and other stuff too. But California has created this atmosphere
because you can't give every person all of their needs.
Yes.
Those people are on the streets living
on the streets.
Yeah,
they are literally.
They got a piece of plastic tied on a chain link fence, to keep the rain off of them. And that's row upon row of people. It's insanity.
I thought we had welfare in this country. Why are people living like that?
They might be getting welfare.
I don't get that.
They
could be put up places and given a bridge card, and I don't understand people on the street, period.
And that's letting you know that that California need to create more government housing.
Yeah.
For their residents, because the residents can't afford. I was watching a program.
Yeah, but when you got them coming across the border,
yeah,
and coming into the state, I mean, they're just getting there. Yeah. You understand? Now they got to get in line to get the goodies.
Yes.
You understand? Yeah. So in the meantime, they're living on the street.
Well, you're right. I didn't mention that, Phil. You're right. California has announced that they are a sanctuary state. They are a sanctuary state. So they invite additional people from countries, from illegals, but they invite more poor people.
And you and I are subsidizing it because California has one of the most oppressive taxing systems in the world, not only in California. I mean, but I'm telling you that this is just insane. I mean, they're paying. I heard them talking about Phil Mickelson. He's paying 53% of his money in taxes. I mean, he pays a grip.
Wow.
And, and I'm sure he's probably looking at an exit since he's no longer going to be able to deduct all of that money from his federal taxes. So now I'm sure that he and a whole bunch of other people will be, figuring out a way to go to Florida or even Michigan, because we got a tax here, but it's nowhere near what it is in California.
Yeah, and after we just heard that Apple, this is from CNBS.com, that Apple is going to bring back over $350 billion back to the U.S. over the next 5 years. They're going to pay a $38 million tax on it. But one of the things that the CEO of Apple did announce, of course, is going to be a result of 20,000 jobs. That's what they're planning on hiring, but they're not saying that they still have to build this factory we was talking about, Phil, so it's going to be construction, material. So all around in that area, one of the places that they say that they're not going to build that factory is in California. And so California would love to come up with a way that they could put an additional tax on that $350 billion that Apple is bringing back in. Apple is going to pay that one-time tax on that. And then the rest they're going to invest. They're going to invest in American workers.
Yeah.
And so we appreciate that. And one of the things that Apple did contribute, the CEO of Apple, he contribute the reason why that they decided to do this and bring this factory back is because of the tax plan.
Yes. Yes.
In a short time.
Yeah.
Look at that. It just happened a month ago.
That's right.
You see the optimism that's going on right now within 30 days.
But there's mood. I mean, and there's need to see that there should be optimism, and this is why I look at the Democrat Party, and they are constantly saying this won't happen. Well, you're never going to bring those jobs back. You're never we're gonna run out of oil.
I remember they said that. That's right. Because they the ones that suppressed oil production. Yeah. And so that's why we were going to run out of oil. And we were more dependent on foreign oil than ever before because of their suppression. But instead, what liberals come up with, they want to play this game, this race game.
Yeah.
Of course, we know Dick Durbin said that who has no credibility in my estimation in the first place. He said that the president said this about the. And so Chuck Schumer, who has no credibility either, he went on one of the liberal talk shows, and so this talking point is of racism it's a bait and switch to manipulate Trump and to manipulate the Republican Party. And I'm gonna show you. So I want you to listen. So how this manipulation go on, because he sent out Chucky to manipulate and give Dick Durbin credibility. Okay, Derek, if you could play 101 for me, please.
Look. His comments over and over and over again can be described as nothing but racist and obnoxious. He says he's not a racist. Well,
he's the least racist person.
The least racist person you'd ever speak to.
All time.
So I have a challenge for Donald Trump, okay? Actions speak louder than words. You want to just begin that long road back to proving you're not a racist, you're not bigoted. Support the bipartisan compromise that 3 Republicans and 3 Democrats have put on the floor. Everyone gave, and get the Dreamers safety here in America.
All right.
That's what he should do.
All right, thank you. And then they got the clapping seals that, that clap and yell at that Marxist claptrap. But Phil, now so they sent out Chuck Schumer, and he said, prove to us that you're not racist.
Yes.
By support. See how they manipulate. Yeah. See how liberals, Democrats use the race card
and they use
to
that
manipulate you and to control you.
Yeah, use that word compromise.
Yeah.
But you know what? This is Black History Month coming up,
That's
and
right.
I'm going to give you a little information about how many times the Republican Party compromised with the Democrat Party.
And you can't compromise with them.
And every time they got their lunch eaten.
They did.
I'm telling you, they from after the Civil War until now, there have been notable times when the word compromise was the forefront of the conversation. The Democrats killed Republicans and then turned around and got everything they wanted, but what they wanted was to be able to say that the Democrat Party was the party of civil rights.
Yes.
That was the party of minorities.
Yes.
It was the party of the downtrodden.
Yes.
But actually, the compromise worked against those groups, and they made the Republicans the racists.
That's right.
Out of the group.
And that's what they're doing right now.
Exactly what they're doing now.
And he got to prove, all of a sudden now, if you want to, get back on the track to proving that you're not racist.
Yes.
I got to prove.
Yes. You got to prove
to the Democrat
You got to prove
Party
that you didn't beat your wife last night.
And we know that the Democrat Party has a history, a written history. You can just go look at the Library of Congress, and you'll see the Democrats have a written history of Jim Crow, of suppression.
They said that they are the party of white supremacy.
That's right.
They said it.
Yes.
It's in their charter, in their plank on their. What do they call it? Their platform.
Their platform.
Their party platform. It was in there.
That's
the party of white supremacy.
That's right. Yeah, and it was founded by of course we know that the Ku Klux Klan was founded the Christmas Eve by the right after that Civil War by the Democrat Party, and we know in Ralph Ginsburg's book 100 Years of Lynching, he proved by articles that it was a Democrat Party that for over 100 years that suppressed their most precious voter today, which now they changed their name, their identity to they want to be hyphenated Americans now because of and call themselves African Americans when they're not African Americans. They got full citizenship. That's why me and you call ourselves just Americans.
That's right.
I might have a little bit more melon than the driver, but at the end of the day, me and you are Americans. We're not going to hyphenate ourselves.
That's right.
And they got these fools out there hyphenating themselves, and they want to be they want to run around and have dual citizenship.
Yeah, exactly. And if they even tried to invent their own language. Ebonics. You remember that?
Phil, 600,000 Americans fought in the Civil War and lost their life. So that we could first, so we can get the 13th, 14th, 15th Amendment, give us full citizenship, give us full voting rights, but the next 100 years there's a history, there's a proof, there's a record of what Democrats did, but nothing after 1965. People don't want to hear anything beyond 1965 about the Democrat Party.
That's right.
Like it's non-existent.
And they will actively tell you that these are the things that the Democrat Party done for them.
Dude,
but
unbelievable.
all civil rights,
yes,
all civil rights
yes.
legislation, all civil rights bills, all civil rights laws do not affect the person or the group that it is directed to as much as it affects the Democrat Party. The Democrat Party comes out ahead on every civil rights legislation that's ever been passed.
Yes.
The group that it was passed to benefit lost out, because right today you hear people in the so-called African American community say to you that after slavery, the black population were the recipients of about 1% of the wealth of the country. And they say that today we only represent about 1% of all of the prosperity that goes on in this country. Blacks only represent about 1% of that wealth. Guess what? The Hispanic group, they're up around 4%. Mm-hmm. You know, and just in the
talking about the economic wealth.
Yeah.
Okay.
In just the 4 decades, that about the 40 years since Ronald Reagan produced it, and we're still at 1% of the wealth. All of these groups come into this country and amass wealth.
Yes.
And we still are at the same level of participation in the wealth. And that's what the whole thing is about. That's what civil rights was supposed to do, was to help us achieve wealth. You can't do it. The government will never make you wealthy.
It will. Will not. Yeah. Again, here, this is from, I'm just going to mention a couple of things. This is from Wayne Perryman's book, Unfounded Loyalty. And he said that this is in chapter 3, the hard choices of government or God. This is what happened when like the NAACP and other groups, black groups, they had to make a choice right after, that civil rights legislation. It says during that period of integration, both the people and the preachers looked to the government for answers, which African American and women in mind, the government sponsored with a multiple of social programs to correct the injustice and gender discrimination, as well as programs to address the social conditions of the poor. Among these included, they came up with affirmative action. Affirmative action was only supposed to have been temporary, Phil.
That's right.
Now, man, you try to remove affirmative action, man, you will get. I'm talking about they're gonna protest. They'll burn down your house. They'll come knocking on your door.
Yeah.
They'll pull a gun on your kids. Social employment training for minorities and women. Today, this employment training, like we talked about a number of weeks ago, Phil. Here, the NFL, they're gonna spend about $400 million not on employment training, but on social justice.
Yeah.
They're going to spend about $400 million on social justice training.
Yeah.
Not training people for employment that's going to help them economically, like you said, that's going to pull them out, out of poverty.
And this last thing with Amazon, ought to prove it to everybody. I mean, we have in Detroit a renaissance going on.
Yes.
Yet we're still arguing and debating about the quality of the education that's being put out in this city, in this state.
Oh my God!
It shouldn't even be an issue.
Can you believe it? I'm gonna let Gary go ahead and just make an announcement real quick.
Yeah, just your opportunity. Go to artofmichigan.com and stand with the Friends of Del Marsh to fight against Cancer Fund. It's better to give than to receive, so there's a lot of good information on there too, and help Del Marsh and Art of Michigan.
All right, folks, we'll see you next week.
Invites the WAAM TALK1600 listeners to continue the roundtable discussions by mailing correspondence to Art of Michigan, Post Office Box 135, Garden City, Michigan 48135.
Or follow Phil and Del at artofmichigan.com. You can also send emails to artofmichigan@hotmail.com. And most of all, continue to listen every Saturday and tell a friend.